Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 30 male, am a single guy working with one of these Fortune 500 companies. I'm my parents' first child, although they are divorced. My dad, 62 male, remarried a few months after the divorce, and my mom, 54 female, remarried years later. Growing up, my dad was very strict with me and believed in corporal punishment for the slightest mistake. He kept saying he wanted to make a man out of me and would beat me up over every slight or perceived mistake. I was a frail child, and I preferred academics to books. My dad didn't like my inclination as he thought it emasculated me. He often said that he wished he had an athletic son and had no use for me. My parents both worked, mom for longer hours while dad's work was more flexible, so I was always at his mercy. He kept at it until one summer when I was 10. He made me go through painful corporal punishments because I broke a mug, and when I broke down, he began beating me until I broke my arm. Fortunately for me, my mom arrived on time to witness the situation. She took me to the hospital and began processing her divorce from that day. My dad insisted on shared custody for him to pay a child support, and although he got the weekends, he rarely showed up to get me and got more verbally abusive. He eventually stopped coming when he got with his next wife and sent a mocking message to me, telling me he would have a better son with his new wife and that I was a disgrace to him. That was the last time I heard from him. He also defaulted in paying child support, claiming he had a bad business spell, but he would go on expensive vacations and even got a new car. Due to our history, my relationship with my father is kinda non-existent. I didn't have a good fatherly influence in my life, and it affected my self-esteem. I kept to myself mostly and only got by because of my mother. I took a positive turn when my stepfather came into the picture. He took me as his child and had been a wonderful father to me in all aspects. In appreciation for all that my stepdad and my mom have done for me, I bought a house in a location they've always wanted to live in. The news got to my biological dad, and he resurfaced in my life after years of radio silence. He called several times, sent multiple texts, and began hounding me, asking me to meet with him. I eventually gave in because I needed to get him off my back. When we met, he spent an hour ranting about his life. He blamed everyone for the misfortune he'd encountered over the years and made subtle snide remarks about my stepdad. He never asked about my welfare even once. I was already regretting my decision to see him and asked him why he bothered asking us to meet if all he wanted to do was complain. He realized that I wasn't falling for his self-pity, so he launched into another sob story, claiming that his recent ex-wife was going to divorce him and send him out of the house. He had nowhere to go and wanted to live with me since I was his son. I laughed at his face when he said that, reminding him that he denounced his relationship with me and chose his buff stepson as my replacement. I told him to go meet his beloved stepson for accommodation and not to bother me. He blocked my path and began ranting that his stepson wanted nothing to do with him and that I was his only hope. I asked him if he had thought of this day when he had subjected me to corporal punishments that left me in pain for weeks. He tried to defend his actions, but I brushed off his excuses. I reminded him that his contribution to my life was a lifetime of therapy, and I cannot harbor a person who ruined my childhood or barely contributed to my growth. I warned him to stop reaching out to me as he was more of a stranger to me, and I do not like being stalked by him. Then I paid for the drinks and I left. I don't know how it got to them, but some relatives from my father's side have been blowing up my phone calling me an a-hole for refusing to house my father. Am I the a-hole here? Update. After my initial refusal, my dad took to hanging around my usual coffee spot, hoping to get me to talk with him. He claimed he wanted to re-establish our relationship and had trailed me to my apartment once. I asked him to go away and warned him to never come to my apartment, or I would call the cops on him. He's gone back to his hideout since then. I've had peace for the first time since this whole matter started. I'm sorry you had a terrible childhood, OP. I'm glad you had your mom on your side. She made the right decision divorcing your dad. After finding out how he treats you, none of what he did was okay. He's a terrible father and he always will be. You don't owe him anything. His family members can take him in if they care about him so much. He has proven again that the less contact you have with him, the better your mental health. So choose yourself and don't feel guilty about it. Your dad is just reaping what he sowed. Story 2. I, 53 female, have a daughter Macy, 23 female, who lives with me. For my work, I'm a manager at a fast food chain that I have worked at for 31 years. Due to my long life with the company, I was awarded an extra $200 bonus if my shop took enough money and I know the owner well. However, I was asked by him not to tell anyone about the bonus, or he would have to take it away, as everyone else would demand the same. I agreed to this and said I wouldn't tell anyone, and I didn't. I'm on good terms with him and we follow each other on social media, so I refrained from telling Macy as she can't keep secrets well. But last month, around a year after I got the bonus, my daughter found out that I had managed to pay off a credit card and wanted to know how, as I didn't think I'd paid off for another year. I told her the interest had gone down, but she didn't believe me and kept pestering me about it for days. I finally told her I would tell her if she wouldn't tell anyone else, so I told her I got a raise at work. Despite having the bonus for a year, my daughter wanted to get dinner to celebrate, so we went to her favorite restaurant, which is quite pricey. She took a picture of our meals and tagged me on Facebook with the caption, "Mom got a pay raise," which in her words, she thought nobody would notice, as nobody uses Facebook anymore. Sadly, I didn't notice until the morning after, but the damage was already done. The owner called me into his office and was very sincere when he told me he couldn't give me the bonus anymore, as a colleague had complained having seen the post. I also apologized, saying I kept it a secret as long as I could, as I know my daughter can't keep secrets well. When I got home, I demanded she remove the post and told her she lost me $200 a month. She felt bad, but told me it wasn't her fault, as I didn't tell her the full extent of the pay rise and how it was so much money. I told her that unless she starts paying me $200 a month extra, that she will have to find somewhere else to live to make up for it. My oldest, Mia, 26 female, thinks I'm being harsh on her and that it was my fault for telling her, as I know what she's like. However, my daughter pays $200 a month rent and spends the rest of her money on luxury items like expensive bags, perfume and makeup. I'm not demanding she pay an unreasonable amount. If anything, $400 a month is incredibly cheap compared to other house prices. Am I the a-hole for demanding my daughter pay $200 extra a month, or I'll kick her out? Everyone sucks here. OP, your manager can't tell you to not discuss your wages. It's illegal, and the fact that they took it away because someone else found out is also illegal. You really should report that situation. You're an adult, and your daughter sounds like a spoiled brat. You gave into her pestering when it was none of her business, then immediately took her out to an expensive meal. You have fostered her behavior. Now for some comments. Your boss is the a-hole for making the bonus so secret and conditional and for removing it like that. I don't know if it's normal in the kind of industry you're in or country, but in mine that would be illegal actually. I don't know why you're focusing more on your child than on the unfair labor practice. Yes, she was wrong for posting if you told her not to do so. And sure, charge her for what she cost you, but she's not the villain in my eyes, nor are you. Not the a-hole. Everyone sucks here. I'm not 100%, but assuming you got a raise in your monthly pay rather than a one-time bonus. Why is your boss giving you secret raises and then taking them away when people find out? He's an a-hole for that. Your daughter was bragging on Facebook about something she was told to keep quiet about. A-hole move. You knew she couldn't keep a secret. Instead of telling her to leave it alone, you told her and then increased her rent for something she wouldn't have done if you hadn't said anything. Everyone sucks here, but mostly your boss. Seriously, contact a local labor attorney because this sounds extremely suspicious. And it's illegal to stop employees from discussing wages in most places. Super illegal to retaliate for that. If your boss is doing that, who knows what other labor laws they are breaking. A local labor attorney can better advise you on what all you may be owed. I would be surprised if you're being properly compensated for OT and other such things if this is how they're doing business. You can be mad at your daughter or co-workers, but it's misplaced. The blame goes to the boss. Anything else is an intentional distraction. Story 3. My 48 male's daughter, 21 female, Aria, abandoned us, her stepmother, younger half-sister and me when she was 15 to go live with my enabling ex-wife, Sandra, and her husband. Until then, we had 50-50 custody, but Sandra has always been less strict than me. She always let Aria do what she wants and has never had any home rules. She also buys Aria everything she wants, so she will want to live with her. Sandra lives in the same town where Aria's high school was, while I live 25 minutes away. So one of my rules was that if she went to meet up with a friend there, meaning I had to drive her, the next time they met it was her friend's turn to come. If the friend's parents didn't want to drive the kid here, then Aria wasn't allowed to meet them again while she was with me. Everything was fine that way for years. The major fallout happened in her last year of high school. She was 15. She went on a trip to another country with her school and didn't bother to send more than a couple texts when she was away for 5 days. So I decided to ground her, because she had to learn to respect and show some love for her family. She insisted she had sent messages to her mother, but we had barely heard from her. She's never had a lot of friends, but she had been invited to some popular girl's birthday party. This was my punishment, not going to that party after forgetting about her family. She got upset and started calling her mother to come pick her up, but it was illegal to get her if it was my week. Plus, she wanted to go to her mother's because she would lift my punishment and then let her go to the party. Her mother came by the end of the week, and I told Aria that she didn't have to come back if she didn't want to. I waited, but I heard nothing from her again. Her sister kept asking me why she didn't come back, and I didn't know how to explain to her that she didn't love us and that she preferred staying with her mother, her parties, and a free of rules life. Over the years, we've communicated through lawyers because Sandra has zero intentions on helping me get my daughter back. She finally has her to herself. They've been demanding that I pay for child support even now that she's 21 years old. I have to pay for that and for half of her college expenses by law. When Aria turned 18, an adult, I started adding up everything I had to pay in an Excel that I sent to Sandra when I updated so she knows what damage she's doing to our daughter. I expect Aria to pay her debt, but I gave Sandra the option to pay for her, to which she refused. We are now at 18K. Aria has been trying to get in touch again. I told her that we can't fix the emotional part unless we fix the money part first. She needs to prove to me that she doesn't only care about the money. Sandra says that I'm an a-hole, but I think she is, since she has done nothing but try to take my daughter away, and she finally has what she wants. So am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Effing hell, I was cringing halfway through the story. I would tell him to shove that list so far up where the sun doesn't shine. That said list would morph into a nocturnal creature. What a horrible father. I'm gonna call my dad and tell him I love him. You're the a-hole. Everything you described her doing was normal teenager behavior, but you massively overreacted to, and then you wonder why she left to stay at mom's. And you are compiling a sheet of what your court-ordered support amounts to for college expenses, etc. No, she doesn't need to pay you back. That is your actual responsibility to support the child. And no, if she's not in college, it doesn't just stop at 18. If it did, then you wouldn't still be paying it legally now, would you? If you harass her for repayment, I hope this poor girl just walks away for good. I saw Red reading this. Reminded me too much of my own father. We haven't spoken in over a decade. OP, she didn't abandon you. She realized you made being at your house a very toxic environment for her and decided to do what was best for her and get out of that situation. You dug yourself this hole, and now you can deal with the consequences. Also, I can guarantee that if you try getting her to pay back the money you were required by the court to pay, child support, college, any lawyer would laugh in your face. That's called being a parent. It's not a loan. You're the a-hole times a million.